I'm fine. I swear I'm fine.
Totally healthy.
Yeah. I wasn't just taking a huge haul off a vape pen or anything. Definitely not what was happening there. Hello, and welcome to the Rough Report. I am your host, Jimmy Ruffian, and we're joined, of course, by co-host Jessica and Nat. Nat wearing her cute little slot outfit today.
I hadn't known, I would have dressed up.
I wear my pajamas literally every episode because I'm at home. I'm always in some manner of pajamas. But the one time I wore this to the liquor store, and they asked me about it, and I'm like, I'm just trying to survive.
And of course, if you are here joining us live, feel free to be part of the comments. We will see your comments, and we will respond to them. So be part of the conversation. Today, we're not covering a whole lot of pertinent news, although there are a couple things. I feel like, we did the big kind of news roundup last week, and that brings us to kind of still where we are. Not a lot has changed since last week. It's kind of been more of the same. Strait of Hormuz is still all messed up. There's a ceasefire, yet there's not a ceasefire. No, that's all kind of nonsense. But
I think that's really funny, though. Because, we ended last week going, news, just stop, please.
And then it did. Then it kind of did.
I mean, it only did insofar as they didn't add anything new bad. Yeah. It's just consistent bad.
Yeah. It's like no surprises.
The same consistent bad.
Yeah, this is the consistent bad that we have been doing, that we're going to keep doing. We haven't added new bad today, but who knows what the morning will bring.
It's almost like I almost kind of wish something happened. Like the White House shooting was kind of fun, like it was just like a little bit of little gap.
We could use more of that.
Yeah, just like a little fun.
A lot more of that. But interestingly that you say that, because there was a meeting today between Trump and the Brazilian PM that was supposed to be like a news conference, but he never showed.
Basically, like the meeting happened.
Yeah,
we know it did, but as it says in the article here, what is it? We expected both leaders to speak to the press following the meeting. That did not end up happening, shocking members of the press who had waited around for hours. I think that's pretty indicative of how Trump has generally treated the press with active contempt and disregard, or even for his own people around him. I'll still remember, what is it, about a year ago? I know I brought this up on the show before, and where it's like a meeting of his own people were standing there in front of the cameras for an hour waiting, and it became this joke where he was like, oh, cross your fingers, hope he had a heart attack or something. Everybody was joking that he dropped dead, and that's why he wasn't showing up for this. And these guys just stood around for an hour or two or something. And when he finally got there and walked through the door, he didn't even say sorry for being late, make some sort of excuse oh, I'm such a busy president. He could have Trump.
No, he wants to be a king.
No pun intended.
He wants to be a king. That's his whole thing.
So when he walked in, instead of apologizing or anything, he just looks around. He's like, "Oh, look at all these people. They make a lot of money." It was so weird. Even by Trump standards, that was pretty weird. And so it's just he really does not just have any regard.
Oh, he's been doing a lot. He's been doing a lot of this lately. I don't know if you've seen it, but he goes.
Oh yeah, he did it there. I saw a clip of him earlier where he sort of tripped over his tongue, and I mean it's something we all kind of do as a nervous tick when we get a little tongue tied, oh blah 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 blah.
They're starting to make compilations.
This is also
so often.
I'm
it's a thing now.
Yeah, because this is also a sign of late stage dementia, of affecting your ability to swallow.
Yeah.
So this isn't just
just speech patterns in general. Yeah.
And ability to get drugged up enough so that you're presentable to press.
Yeah.
And so at this
That's
point,
what, if anything's going up his nose, like a nasal spray or anything, it's going down his throat too. So there's a yeah.
all that, I don't know. I know Trump has denied using any hard drugs, but
He doesn't
Well,
drink.
he also
yeah.
denies
So-
being a pedophile rapist. So
That's
like,
true.
really, what fucking word can we take him out, right?
Yeah. He's like, I mean, he strikes me as a cocaine guy, or a guy who
Oh, yeah.
probably did cocaine back in the day or something
Yeah.
like that.
Like he's
Because
not
I
a
mean,
booze
Don
guy.
Jr. That's a cocaine guy. That's a
He's
cocaine
come by it honestly,
guy.
yeah.
He
Oh
is
my
the
God.
cocaine.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen him not on cocaine.
Yeah, he always
Like,
seems
he's
to be like a little like intense and bloodshot in the eyes, and a little like clenchy in the jaw and stuff like that. Yeah.
more cocaine than human.
So like, yeah, the first thing I wanted to go over, and it's probably going to be the bulk of the show. I don't know if we'll watch the entire video, but I think covering this is interesting. I like Jason Pargin as a content creator. I think he has a lot of interesting insights and things. I don't always agree with him 100%, but what I like about him and his presence in that sort of social media influencer, random interesting topics sort of landscape is he very much is like an analytical thinking person at the very least. He's not just like making lazy assumptions that is, would fall under like, sort of MAGA thinking and stuff like that. He actually kind of has more of a careful and measured approach to things, whether you end up agreeing with it or not. And I quite liked this video. Of course, there's a couple things I'm going to pick apart about it. But what I found interesting about it is, of course, you see the title there, Why Does America Hate the Left? And he makes some good points in that this is how the normies see it, right? Like, this isn't talking from a serious leftist commie perspective. He isn't presented from that angle. He is talking to and about the normies and sort of contextualizing it in that thing. And I think that for the sake of leftist strategy and meeting people where they're at is perhaps a smart thing. So let's get into it a little bit and see where it goes. Just make sure I get the first few seconds.
The first thing you need to know about politics in the United States in the modern era is that it's just really easy to hate the left. Like, if this is our political spectrum, the leftmost 5 or 10% is the most hated group in America. And I mean,
and that says a lot right off the bat, actually, because the most hated group is evidently not the fascists.
Yeah, I know.
Interesting.
If you talk to the right person, they'll be like, the fascists are bringing communism, actually.
Yeah. There's those. Oh, the amount of people I've run into that are like
Jesus
big
Christ.
on like horseshoe theory and stuff like that.
Oh my
Like,
God.
horseshoe theory has infected the minds of like your sort of normies.
You know who I blame
yeah.
for the horseshoe theory?
Yeah. Who's that?
Star Wars man. What the fuck's his name?
There's multiple men in the Star Wars.
No.
Which Star Wars man?
The Star Wars man. The
George Lucas?
Thank you. I
Oh,
blame
okay.
fucking George Lucas. You know
Why?
why? Because their whole thesis is that the universe needs a balance of light and dark. No, it fucking doesn't.
Yeah, no.
We don't need a healthy dose of fascism. We fucking don't.
That actually
Yeah.
reminds me of like Obama just did an interview this week, and you hear it, but I think Nancy Pelosi has said this too. But in the interview, like, they do the "I want a strong Republican Party." And
I
it's like,
don't.
no,
Fuck
I
them.
want
Yeah.
non-Republican Party. I don't want
know.
any. I don't want none of that.
Oh, various
could
flavors
get
of leftist
into like
parties.
because
Exactly.
I think that can be an interpretation of what George Lucas meant or was going for, but I could say that isn't necessarily
But
what it was,
given-
but that is a
given
popular
how-
interpretation. Yeah.
Given how media illiterate fucking people
Yeah,
are,
exactly.
I think that is way too.
Well, I mean,
popular of a takeaway.
It's such a tough balance, and I guess like he kind of gets into this here too, like what you say and the messaging and what you mean versus how people receive it, and sort of understanding the cultural zeitgeist
Yeah.
and where people are at.
You have to
talk them.
remember
Yeah.
the average reading level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So act like you're talking to a 12-year-old.
yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
We know it based on how people vote and what they tell pollsters, and based on how candidates run their campaigns, and just from talking to people in everyday life. I mean, that's why there's a massive industry of people on this platform and on Twitter and on Twitch and Rumble getting very wealthy just by coming on here and hating the left every single day for hours. The reason that is so lucrative is that mainstream Americans, the normies, hate and fear the far left more than they hate and fear the far right. This is a controversial statement to some people, but I think it's easy to prove, and we're going to walk through it. But
I have no evidence to the contrary.
I do
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
agree with them, and I'm not asking you to agree with them, to agree with this idea that the extreme left is more dangerous than the extreme right. I think part of that fear and hatred is based on how those beliefs get filtered through the media ecosystem.
Which is bought by
Absolutely.
fascists.
Absolutely. And he is putting it kind of gently here. I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
like, I don't
yeah,
know if he's doing it consciously, so saying this is how it's filtered through the media ecosystem. I would sooner phrase it as the media ecosystem is aggressively doing this. It's not just how it's filtered through it. It's a very intent
It's
driven.
even him.
Yeah, but
you know.
for him to take that strong position from the start, it could
Yeah,
get
exactly,
people to
exactly.
not
So this is what I mean.
listen.
I want to emphasize he's talking to a certain middle ground type of person in this, and that's the language he uses, and that's important to keep in mind going
Yeah,
forward.
well, I was just gonna say too, like he's also like even in that whole I'm not telling you to believe this.
Yeah. I'm
You
not
know,
telling
it's
you to
like
believe anything.
yeah,
I'm
this is
making an
just
analysis of what
information.
is. Yeah.
You decide.
Yeah.
This is not a video where I'm going to come on here and beg the far left to
There you
moderate.
go. Yeah.
What I'm saying
Thank shit,
is that
right?
nothing
Free watch,
about
free watch.
what
No, I'm
has
kidding.
happened in politics for the last decade, and nothing about what is going to happen in politics soon will make any sense to you until you accept that this is how people feel, even if you disagree with them.
That's
It's kind
valid.
of like if
That's
you were
valid.
trying to, let's say, open a restaurant and you decided to make the restaurant spider themed. You have to know going in that you have an uphill battle getting the normies to eat there. If your goal with that restaurant is
I like that.
specifically to make people stop hating spiders, that's great. That's a noble goal. But the first step in accomplishing that goal is understanding that the average person right now is either repulsed by or terrified of spiders. And shaming them for it or yelling at them or insulting them won't work because they have a critical mass of people who feel the same way. You can't shame somebody out of a 95% popular opinion. That's
because if you were pumping through the mainstream media how scary spiders are 24/7. Actually, shout out to spiders today. Brown recluse fighting.
You
Tyler
do
Rittenhouse.
Lord's work. Yeah.
Thank you, Spider.
Comrade
You get
Spider.
Comrade Spider. Big win today.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
So if you are out there and your goal is to bring the country around to what is currently considered an extreme left point of view, you have to start with the fact that right now, most average mainstream Americans of all races would sooner vote for the spider than for a far left candidate. That is your starting point. The main reason for that is that they think the far left stands for a single toxic, utterly lethal idea.
And yeah, I think how
a lot
he's
of Red
putting that-
Scare propaganda out there.
Exactly, a lot of Red Scare propaganda out there, and I forget what I was going to say. So I got to let him continue a little bit. I'll probably find it again.
I think like a good example of kind of like what we're seeing now too is like when you see like the Israel-Palestine conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like if you said anything negative against Israel to a normie, they were like,
especially 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Fucking even right after October 7th, even.
It's important to recognize we've made incredible progress on that. And yeah, like despite the mainstream narrative fighting against us so much on it,
Mhm.
And part of that is
yeah.
accepting people who were pro-Israel.
Yes,
when
exactly. People
change
who
their
aren't
mind.
necessarily our comrades, but we recognize that they are mainstream figures that are joining the correct side in this historical
And once
moment.
you got them in
Yeah.
one conversation, you can kind of, oh yeah,
Yeah.
did you know Israel
I'm not saying we
has
should jump on
free
Tucker
healthcare?
Carlson necessarily. Tucker
No.
Carlson's been
No.
saying the right things about Israel, but he is still a white
For a
supremacist at
minute.
the end of the
He's
day.
still
So we
saying
don't have
the right
to,
things about that
anti-Muslim
we
for
don't have to
fucking
give him
minute.
too many
He
problems.
said like anti-Muslim shit last week. Like he
Yeah,
is
yeah,
like
exactly,
if
exactly,
he only
yeah.
changed one position, that's not enough for me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Something they consider a deal breaker.
Oh, we can't see the
We'll get to
screen.
what that is
Oh,
in a moment. First of all, a disclaimer. As I alluded to a moment ago, every person with a platform on here or Twitch or anywhere else still has a big red button in front of them that they can push at any time. This button has a $sign on it. Left
yeah.
and attacking extreme forms of wokeness is still instant, easy traffic and easy income. Because the far left is hated across the political spectrum, you get viewers and donations and comments from liberals and conservatives, and honestly, even other leftists. The hardcore left makes for the perfect punching bag. Part of this is because almost by definition, people on the far left are those who are outside the mainstream. They're the ones who got bullied in school, the ones who don't conform to cultural norms about gender or sexuality or lifestyle. A lot of them openly talk about having mental illness, which also makes them a target. A lot of the most vocal leftists are just young or they're college kids. A lot of them don't express themselves well.
I feel like that's something that's sort of changed in the modern era, like something I still get surprised at, given how much time, the punk scene and the goth scene and these outrageous looks and stuff like that have existed. I still get these almost like aghast, bizarre, pearl clutching reactions to my green hair. Yeah, and it's like they act like they've never seen it before. It's really bizarre, and I feel like there was a point in like the early 2000s, late 90s, where despite all of these prejudices still being a major problem, like systemic racism and homophobia and things like that, even amongst sort of reactionary thinking people or mainstream middle of the road apolitical normies or whatever, there was this idea and respect for people who were subversive to the cultural mainstream. There was this sort of live and let live mentality. Of course, this was not 100%, but I feel like
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, as someone that studied media, when you watch I love watching old 90s talk shows, especially because it was like the moms with like their goth daughters, and the daughters so cool. And they're like
but you know what, that helped legitimize it to a lot of people like that because we knew what we were watching was trash TV. So kind of making this ridiculous spectacle of it, I think had this effect on the mainstream going, I
feel like it's one of those things where it's like the older generation saw it serious, watching Dr. Phil seriously, and the younger generation watched it, was like, this is camp.
This sort of tongue-in-cheek, like, like I understand we're treating these people like freaks, but they're not really.
They look so cool. They look nicer than their moms.
Exactly.
And like the makeovers were atrocious.
Oh yeah, the fact that they always looked horrible was definitely helped. Yeah,
like a lot of them came onto the scene using language that kind of made them sound like aliens. They're the ones who showed up in 2012 saying decolonizing intersectionality means we should stop othering black and brown bodies. The culture just sees them as off-putting people completely separate from any opinions they may hold. But I have put off making this video for months out of fear that it would get a bunch of traffic from viewers who just swept in to see those people get kicked around. And I don't want that traffic or that revenue. You're kicking people who for the most part, are themselves struggling very badly. But my point here is only...
I love that just plain recognition of reality, not adding a value statement to it. It just is what it is. And I think that that's important.
That the reason the numerical mainstream, the group I'm calling the normies, fear the far left more than they fear the far right is due to the fact that they have certain beliefs and sensibilities, and this is really not up for debate. It's just an observation of how they live their lives. For example, if I describe the average normal American as someone who believes in God and loves America and loves hamburgers and big cars and salutes the troops, someone will object that a person who doesn't do any of those things is just as much a real American as somebody who does. And saying that they're not normal is othering them. It's implying that they are lesser, that their opinions shouldn't matter, that they are broken and need to be fixed. But all I'm saying is just that it is objectively true that, for example, in the United States, 83% of people say they believe in God. Now, statistically,
I'm not sure when the last time they measured that statistic is, but I'd imagine it's within the
Oh,
last
they
decade
did
at least.
yeah, no, they did I don't even know, like they did a survey. I
Sorry,
think this was a
who's
couple
they?
years
The fact
ago.
that it's still
They
like
it was, you know, I don't know, I saw it on a MSNBC.
trying to think
But
of
this is
who,
where this stat is from, because like
Pew
60
Research is one of the
yeah,
big
like
ones that
60
does stuff
it was like
that.
83% believe in God, 60 something percent believe in angels.
Yeah.
Like it
And
was
the
something,
fact that
it was
number
crazy.
is still so high says a lot. Not that it
I-
is that I see it as a
think it was
sign of
like 4 or
ignorance to
5 years
necessarily
ago.
be religious. I am one of the, like, because there is this strong idea, I think, that plays into some of what John is saying here, and why the greater America has this fear, hatred, or skepticism of the left, is that there is this very much cultural atheism amongst the left. And I try and resist that as much as possible. Even though I am an atheist myself, I try and emphasize to people, my fellow lefties, too much pushback, that we should respect religion. We should respect the fact that people are spiritual, that there is positivity to be offered from spirituality and the community it brings. Of course, it's not all great. There are things worthy of criticizing, but I think being anti-religion is just like kind of a fundamental value is a non-starter for a lot of people, and
I
it's
agree.
not productive.
Like, for myself, I consider myself agnostic because I can't prove either way.
Yeah.
And so I'm
well, like,
open
my
to be
belief that I'm
proven
an
wrong.
atheist is like doesn't like there is this idea amongst atheists that, like, you know, as an atheist, anytime somebody's talking about God, almost like a religious fanatic might, you have to insert and assert your
No.
your
A lot of people take
on that.
atheism or anti-religion as being like, oh, you're trying to keep my belief, you're trying to take my beliefs away.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, like,
and
I just
to
don't
their
want your
credit,
beliefs
some
to...
atheists do behave that
It's
way.
true,
There is
some
that
do.
energy
But
where
there's a bad, there's bad apples in every bunch.
Yeah, exactly,
But
exactly.
it's like, I just want to say, I did find the poll. It was 2023, so I was
okay.
Thank you.
So fairly recent,
AP Nork from University of Chicago, and they found that roughly 70% of U.S. adults believe in angels.
Okay.
So like where I'm going to defend this is that, like, from my agnostic point of view, is that they're the lived experience includes so many weird outliers that I can understand how some people would use their understanding of the universe to ascribe it to things like God and angels, because there's a lot of weird shit in our
We've done that
everyday
throughout
life.
history. Anytime we didn't understand a scientific thing yet, like we
And so, like, so I don't begrudge
so
people
much
that.
so that there is a philosophical term for it that anybody who studies kind of theology or atheism or anything like that probably has heard it before. They call it the God of the gaps. And the God of the gaps is the gap in knowledge. That's where God is. Oh, we don't understand this thing about how the natural world and the universe works. That must be where God operates. And then somewhere along the line, we learn that thing. We have a scientific explanation for it, and it's like, oh, where did God go? You know, like he just moved on to the next thing we don't understand.
I always say my issue is just organized, like organized religion. That's always like I don't care what God you believe in or what you religious things you practice, as long as they don't interrupt anyone else's rights.
I care about predatory mega churches. And about the Catholic Church shuffling around their
have you seen the Scientology speed run?
That is so fun. Let's cover that next.
We should get into that because it's becoming a big thing. But here, let's go further down this rabbit hole here because it hasn't gotten to the heart of the thing yet that I want to talk about the most.
Most of them are not devout. They don't go to church every Sunday. But if you like to sneer at the idea of believing in God, if you have lots of fun mocking the idiots with their superstitions about a sky daddy, you statistically have single digits on your side in America. That doesn't make the other side right or even good. And they're only normal in the sense that they're the overwhelming majority. It's just the reality that they have the numbers, and that group perceives that the right is friendlier to their beliefs than the left. And there are a lot of things like that.
And I can't blame them for thinking that, largely speaking. It's hard to fault them for that. Yeah.
Statistically, almost all of the mainstream, all of the normies have no problem eating meat. Most Americans eat it pretty much every day, if not for every meal. Only about 10% of the population is vegetarian, and many of those in polls say they eat some meat. Again, you can disagree with how that 90+% chooses to live their lives. You can say that eating meat is wrong, but you can't deny that they disagree with you. And when you hear a public figure saying that meat is murder, or saying that climate change will require us to eat less meat, that is never coming from a Republican. Likewise, overwhelmingly, this numerical majority of Americans, I'm calling the normies, own cars. And statistically, now most of them are big cars. They're SUVs or crossovers or trucks. Most of these people like their cars.
Oh, yeah, I said this to Nat the other day because I had this moment where I was just walking down our own street, and I felt like I was witnessing a glitch in the Matrix. Because like here in these sort of suburbs that we are, and the prevalence of SUVs, I joked with her that, you know what, gas is obviously not expensive enough because there's so many freaking people driving these honking SUVs around that they don't need. They're just doing regular town driving, like they're not hauling stuff, they don't have a need for this SUV. But nonetheless, as I was walking down the street, I think I counted 9 or 10 SUVs of the same size and shape, slightly different makes and models, but you know how like a lot of car companies like share similar parts and structures and things like that for the sake of streamlining manufacturing stuff. So cars tend to look a little more the same these days than they did.
I thought that was what they feared communism would do.
Yeah, I know, right? But so they were all kind of on a gray, charcoal, black spectrum of color, and like in a row. It was like they all rounded the corner in like perfect timing. And I was like, what the hell? It looks so eerie.
Yeah. So I said to James that if witnessing that, if the birds and the squirrels and stuff start to disappear and the mist rolls in, then please read the book Soon by Lois Murphy. Because you know what's coming next.
Yeah. It's gonna be like the Happening sort of scenario.
Oh, Soon's much better than Happening.
I would assume that if you were recommending, I just imagine
Mark Wahlberg and just go, "It's happening."
But like,
I gotta have this scrunched Mark Wahlberg, like confused but like concerned face. He always
slightly.
I feel like I need to punch an Asian person.
It's like tight on his face.
Like Mark Wahlberg. I could make.
Yeah, we watched it recently as the riff tracks.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it was a good gift as a riff track.
And prefer to drive on the commute, even if other options are available. And if someone,
thank you. Thank you.
Someone is in their ear saying that the environment requires them to take the bus or a bicycle, it's not going to be a Republican. If it sounds like I'm stating the obvious with all of this, it is obvious. but people get very mad at you for saying it, especially when we move into more contentious areas of disagreement. For example, and don't shoot the messenger here, statistically, the normies like and respect the military and also the police. That's reflected in everything about how the normies behave, in what movies and TV shows they watch. It's reflected in every poll on the issue and in how they vote, especially when they think that something like defunding the police is on the ballot. Like statistically, they will leave the house purely to vote against that in an election when they otherwise would have just stayed home. Also, the normies factually love America, or at least they like it. Most of them don't travel abroad even when they have the opportunity to. They flock to 4th of July celebrations, and I can't stress this enough, they consistently vote against any candidate who has even a hint of anti-American rhetoric in their past. And once again, if there is a public figure talking about how the United States is an evil empire built with slave labor on stolen land, that's almost never going to be a Republican. And
the thing is, when we on the left are talking about how structural and how foundational that racism is, that's kind of what we're speaking to, is that reality. But the reality that he's saying, and that we should recognize strategically speaking, is that this is the material condition in which we're existing. So coming out and going, that thing that you love is super bad, on a fundamental level, you got to understand how they're receiving that message and how you are going to talk them over to your side, given that's where they currently are.
Yeah, especially given
I'll let you go first.
no, especially given how some folks are just like fuck Bernie, fuck AOC, they're not left enough, they're not going to lead us to our our utopia. It's like, bitch, like they're trying to work within the fucking system.
Yeah, they're not revolutionaries. They're not pretending to be revolutionaries.
But if they were, they wouldn't get elected.
Well, and revolutionaries require blood, honestly, right? To have a revolution, it isn't a peaceful thing.
Can't vote your way to it. Like, that's not.
Well, you and also, like, you can't berate people to it. You can't like, you'll either you have the numbers to overthrow everything, or to hold a coup, or you don't. And if you don't even vote because these people aren't left enough, then all you're doing is sniffing your own fucking farts while things go further and further
get to
to
be
the right.
Like, I quite like this line that is said by the comedian in Watchmen. Even though most of the characters, if not all the characters in Watchmen, are these deeply flawed, bad human beings, he is correct in putting Ozymandias in his place in a flashback where he goes, "Oh, you smartest man in the world, huh? Well, you get to be the smartest man on the cinder." How does it feel to be so right?
Like, that's not the most important thing. Like, I was gonna say, like, when talking to normies, like, they don't understand systems.
Like,
they're like,
that's not how
no
they feel about the world.
saying they need to arrest black people more. Like, that's so they don't. So you have to, like, really talk to them through their lived experience.
You're talking to mainstream people that think in large proportion that racism is not really a problem anymore.
A lot of these people don't view any of these problems until it affects them. So even to open them up to the idea, you have to talk about the problems that affect
their
them.
best friend, their neighbor who's black is
like, so many people voted for Trump and are
then they go, wow, this
wait,
racism.
what's going on with ICE? Like, my cool neighbor got
the good immigrant got arrested. Oh my.
I'm pro-life until it's so it's like, you really have to, like, just talk to them through whatever their material realities are
Which is
first.
part of the reason why organizing on like a community level is so fucking important, because you can actually connect with people.
Yes.
Why it's important to get involved with like school boards, with like local city council, with like local community groups. Just like you need small potatoes. You can't start at the federal level because you'll never get the support to start at the federal level.
Yep.
To get like the
Even
understanding.
what is it? The strategy amongst evangelicals and why they have such a strong political presence the way they currently do is they did start with like school board trustees and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and they started
exactly. Yeah.
strategically leaning very heavily into taking over local elections.
Yeah.
Pretty much culminating in getting Mike Pence into the warehouse in Trump's first term. You know,
Yeah.
Continuing on.
Just
Oh,
one
sorry.
last thing. Sorry,
Yeah.
just one last thing about the whole like hating on AOC and Bernie and them not being, you're not gonna. There never should be one person you agree 100% with. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
So like, have a set of fundamental goals, fundamental, whatever your beliefs is, and then if someone maybe agrees with that but has a slightly different way of getting there, just leave it. Like maybe that's not the most important thing right now.
Well, and as I've said to James for like a decade now, there's no single path to freedom. None. It does not exist. We need to tackle things from a just from all aspects.
It's
And so
interesting that
different ideas.
that we're making these particular points right now, because not only is what he is saying here, but the next video that I have lined up for immediately after that, it's a much shorter one, is going to touch on those notes exactly. But
is the one that nobody believes when I say it. Like, even after I showed them the polls, no matter how many data points I put in front of them, the fact is that the normies are generally happy with their own lives. Most of them like their neighborhoods,
super important
and their
to remember.
jobs. In surveys, the majority say they like their bosses. Look it up. Pew does a survey on it. And this is incredibly important, because this is why almost none of them want to see civilization completely upended. Roughly 0 of them want a violent revolution to overthrow the current system, or any other event that would radically disrupt their routine. Most of them want change, but they want that change in the form of a better position in the system. They want a better paycheck, or better schools, or safer streets. This is objectively true. It's
important to recognize, like a shout out to one of my favorite modern socialist writers, Mark Fisher. He wrote a book called Capitalist Realism, which the title almost, if you're thinking about it, culminates the idea that there is this amongst capitalist society, and the fact that it is like kind of the global hegemony, and we've lived in this system for so long now. There is this idea that it is just the default way of doing things. This is the natural order, that this isn't a system that was built purposely by people for explicit ends, but rather this is just the way history went, and of course it was going to go this way. It had to, and because of that, we're all doing the very normal thing that humans should be doing.
Reflected in every single action they take in their lives. At every opportunity for them to express their preferences, the thing this group, this diverse majority of the country, the thing they want is a chance to thrive in this current system. They want stability and safety and peace. And that is just human nature. The reason they hate and fear the far left more
Here it
than
is.
they
He's getting
hate
to the point
and
of it
fear
here.
the far right is that they perceive, I think incorrectly, that the far right is going too far in protecting those preferences I just stated: safety and prosperity, order, where they think the far left is going too far in trying to destroy those things. They believe, even if they won't say it out loud, that the civilization could continue to function under a far right regime, or at least that the worst impulses of that side could be controlled and contained, that the things they value in life would continue to exist in that scenario. But they believe that if the far left got their way, that civilization would stop functioning entirely because everything would descend into utter chaos and tribal warfare. And most people, if they had to choose between two dystopias, would choose that first one. And this brings us back to
the devil, you know,
what I
right?
said at the start.
Mm.
The idea that they see the far left as having this one very toxic deal breaker of an idea. The thing that they feel like the loudest voices on the far left are pushing, which is the rejection, either stated or implied, of individual personal responsibility. If you're someone with a platform and you want the engagement that comes with yelling at leftist outrage stories, the ones that resonate the most with the normies, like the ones that get them the most fired up, it's where people express leftist opinions in a way that makes it sound like personal responsibility and moral accountability only exist for a small number of people who they also see as oppressors. It's where they're taking something that is objectively true, which is that the system screws over a lot of people and pushes it to a bizarre, monstrous extreme. There's a small vocal segment of the far left that makes it sound like they're just pro-crime, that you shouldn't be upset about vandalism or theft or anything.
And I have heard this expressed from the normies in my own life, that in many ways they are progressive thinking people, and that they do have good hearts and things like that. But yeah, they have this perception that, like, oh, you know, like, you don't think stealing from another person is wrong. Like,
The
you
leftist means no jokes, by the way.
yeah,
No
exactly.
jokes.
Yeah,
You're not allowed to joke.
Yeah.
No
No.
jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, this idea that, like, yeah, personal responsibility is gone. Like, oh, you know, you just don't want to work would be a big example of that. It's like,
Yeah.
no, it's not that people don't want to work, right? They don't want to work in certain conditions that are unfair in such a way that they quite obviously just don't have to be. And things like that. When you feel like you're constantly being screwed over by something, of course you're going to have this sense of rejection about it, right? And so, like, yeah, like, you'll get the normies going, well, why should I have to accept that, you know, like, these hooligans are running around doing this, that, or the other? I have to be responsible for their mistakes, and you know, things like that. And while I think that is a perhaps ignorant way of looking at the world, it is also, if you haven't taken the time, or somebody else hasn't taken the time to show you and educate you, that is kind of a natural way to think.
A huge example of this is when you talk to a normie about communism, they're like, they're going to take your house. And then you have to explain the difference between personal property and private property. Because private property is your house under capitalism. And guess what? Banks take them all the time. Banks take your house under capitalism all the time because it's private property. But under communism, it's your personal property. Like, we're not having a communal toothbrush. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how this is working.
Yeah.
Our toothbrush.
Else, because that's all just a form of social justice. They act like every thief in the world is a starving person stealing food so they can survive, as if there's no such thing as somebody who steals because that's just easier than working. And this very small but very
more important sidebar, they think it's easier than working.
Visible group will sound like they're applying that worldview to every possible way that a human life can go wrong. Whether it's a person's career or finances, they will imply that being a leftist means believing that every single struggling person is only struggling purely due to systemic oppression.
So you get into a very fundamental philosophical debate here, nature versus nurture, right? You know, it is within our nature to be personally responsible, but then the argument from the left is that the nurturing aspect takes a stronger stance. And I guess as a leftist, I would agree with that. I think the conditions in which a person exists, in which they're born, and the material and physical conditions in which they're raised are going to be far more deterministic on who they are as a person and what they turn out to be as a person than the genetics of it.
If both your parents are 6 feet tall, but they're poor and can't afford to feed you very well, I'll be honest, you're probably not gonna make it to 6 feet. You know what I mean?
You very well not might. Yeah. They're like, there is a physical impact on that.
Yeah. And just simply anecdotally, absolutely anecdotally, I have been an adult many years.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You've been an adult?
I should have checked your ID, my bad.
I know. I'm a fucking adult. So in my several years of being an adult, and of several years of making bad decisions, and several years of moving and recovering from my bad decisions, it is so much harder in the year of our Lord 2026 to recover from a bad decision than it was in 2016 and 2006.
Yes.
So like
that's the thing.
Yes, there's personal responsibility.
When we're talking about systems.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's a personal responsibility. Like most people do go out and work and do go out and try their best. And they might also steal a little bit on the side to try and make
I don't even mean stealing. I don't even mean stealing. I just mean so for someone who makes a bad choice. So like let's say
a
that
move, bad
boyfriend. Let's say I move without having a job. I move without having a job. I move for the wrong job, or I just like just something where it was my choices to get into that situation, but it didn't economically turn out the way I thought it would. Recovering from that in 2006 versus today, drastically different. And so I'm saying that like personal choice, absolutely have made bad choices. Like
part of that's also just your privilege too. If you grow up with rich parents, you get to make way more bad choices.
No, that's what I'm saying.
What's your capacity to withstand those mistakes?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that like
economically speaking.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that like 20 years ago when I made bad choices, I still had the impression that because of my class, because of my economic class, because of like my family support systems and such, that I didn't really have to worry about things because I was still insulated. And so like I understood my privilege, and I knew that my privilege would insulate me to some degree. But 20 years later, my privilege is insulating me less because the material financial
we're on our own now, baby.
Yeah. The material financial conditions outside my privilege are making it exponentially harder.
If we were people of like Nat and I as a couple, of our skill level and work ethic, if we were the age we are now 40, 50 years ago, we'd be freaking great.
You'd be selling your house now for $1 million that you bought for 30 grand.
Yeah,
exactly.
So just like what I'm saying is that like I've lived through enough economic times and done enough stupid shit during the
back in my day. You could recover from a bad financial decision.
And I could back when, but I can't the same way I could. Right?
Yeah, no, I get that.
And
no
so,
bad
like,
decisions for me. I'm playing it straight and narrow right now. Like,
I'm full of bad decisions.
So he gets a little more into like the personal choice thing a little bit that I wanted to touch on here.
They will talk like there literally is no such thing as a person who is struggling financially because they are lazy or because they made bad decisions with their money. They act like that has never happened even once ever. And it's a thing that they say, but that they do not actually believe, because 100% of them know someone in real life who is struggling because they made bad choices. They, like all of you, have worked with people who were lazy and selfish and did such a bad job that you were relieved when they got fired. And I'm sorry, but if you have known any criminals, and I have, a lot of them do crime to support a lifestyle of sleeping in and partying. a lot of them absolutely could get a job if they wanted, and many of them have in the past.
And now the argument I would make there, the pushback I would give is that yes, while those people exist, would they exist like, and not to say to 100% degree, because nothing is absolute in these respects. You're always going to have outliers and things like that. But would those people, even those ones that you perceive to be making these conscious choices that have put themselves in the position that they're in, if we did not live in the capitalistic society that has the work structure it does, that has the culture that it does,
being able to make
would
profit
those
off of
people,
stolen goods, like
yeah, would those people still prefer a life of crime?
well,
I doubt it in a
going
large,
off
but
of-
like again, not to 100%, but I feel like a good chunk of those people that he's even talking about that are just criminals by choice, not out of some hardened economic reality or something. I still think those people would be fewer in numbers. Again, it's not that I'm taking away the essence of personal responsibility here, but we should take responsibility for
the
what
material
the
reality that they're
system,
operating in.
yeah, the system we've promoted.
this is like
Mhm.
my brain right now is the personal responsibility bit.
Mhm.
Okay. In capitalism, the personal responsibility is it's your job to you have to get a job and pay your bills and take care of
Yeah.
your place and
Yeah.
take care of you. It's your
Yeah.
personal responsibility for me under like a socialist utopia. Your personal responsibility is to the community.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
your personal responsibility to the community. So
Yeah.
it's not like this
Yeah.
you're, and going off you, like are they lazy or are they depressed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are,
And
like,
are they lazy or
have they
are they
observed the
are they
world as it
disabled
is
or are
and
they
went, well,
lazy?
screw this, like
yeah,
yeah.
are they just like operating on like, trying to do 9D chess when they only have like,
Yeah.
2D capabilities?
I know,
Like,
like a lot of
are they-
what crimes is he talking about that people are doing that they're sleeping in and partying, selling
Yeah.
drugs? Well, if you
Yeah.
decriminalize that and make that a thing, that wouldn't be a crime.
Yeah. I bet a lot of those people that like say if you ask them, hey, like, why don't you just get a normal job? And they might say something like, well, crime is just easier. But like, in their heart of hearts, do they really believe that?
Yeah. But the thing is too, is that like, so let's say that we have,
you don't know.
Let's say we have UBI, universal basic income.
Yeah.
And so some people are lazy and they decide that they're not going to work.
That's fine.
Then A, they're not your asshole lazy coworker.
Yeah.
B, they're not stealing because they have enough.
Yep.
C, if all they desire to do is just stay at home and like, be in their own environment and do their own thing, then like what is like the public cost of that other than being
people.
morally offended
and this is what scares
that someone's
people.
not working.
But like my counter argument to like the normies being scared of us espousing that idea is, again, it's not taking away that person's responsibility to be good and provide to their community. I think it provides them the tools to be able to do that in ways that capitalism does not offer.
Absolutely.
Because like sure, it's their choice to feel defeated by the system and then turn to not great choices as a result of that. But again, if the system were better, they may not. They
also,
may have made
was it
different
their
choices.
choice? We're talking nature versus nurture.
Exactly.
Addictions are genetic. Was it their choice?
Well, and addictions are, as many studies have shown now, they have a lot to do with community or the isolation thereof.
And same with suicide rates.
Yeah. People who feel isolated from other people and feel cast out and feel neglected and feel like they don't have loved ones around them are far more likely to be addicts and to be homeless and to commit crimes and like all these things.
And if you're homeless, you might be an addict because if you.
So what the left really wants here is not
if you're homeless, what are you going to do with your
it's not
time?
this idea that the leftists want to get rid of personal responsibility, because I believe as a leftist, I think most people want to provide. I think
Yeah.
most people want to feel like they have a place within their community where they can make some level of meaningful difference.
Mhm.
And when you rob people of that feeling and isolate them from it, you get these negative impacts.
But
And
also
I don't know how to communicate that to the masses in such a
Yeah.
way where they hate the left less, but there's a lot of propaganda against us at that point too,
Yeah.
right?
But also, like, what COVID has taught us is that from the right wing, they actually don't want people to uh, have their own personal responsibility,
Yeah.
because personal responsibility is part of community responsibility.
Yeah, they
It's
don't
part of,
believe
like,
that though. It's
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
separate for them.
exactly.
That's
Exactly,
why I was
right?
making that distinction under
Yeah.
capitalism. Like they believe it's just them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so personal responsibility is like, I am personally responsible for what I do, but also for my effects to my community, right?
Mhm.
And so, like, I'm going to get vaccinated. I'm going to drive a seatbelt. I'm going to drive under the speed limit. I'm not going to blow through crosswalks. I am going to respect the rules of the road. I'm not going to, I don't know, just cough on someone and punch them in the face, because, like, I understand that, like, my personal responsibility doesn't negate my responsibilities to be part of society and part of a community. And I
Mhm.
think that is one thing that has gotten,
Yeah.
like, so fucking lost, is that
We
personal
are,
responsibility doesn't end with
if you want to
your
talk in a
Yeah, I agree.
fundamental biological level, we are evolutionary speaking, biologically speaking, communal animals.
Yeah.
We need to coexist and depend on each other and feel like we can depend on each other
Mhm.
in order to feel safe and comfortable.
And that's the
And
huge
that's
right-wing talking point though,
I was
right?
gonna
Yeah.
With the Darwinism, like, oh,
Yeah.
survival of the fittest. It's like
Mm.
we as
Yeah.
a species, like when we talk survival of the
Yeah.
fittest,
Our
you're talking
species was determined to be fit because we
of our
exist as a
societies.
species. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we
together.
need our
Yeah,
societies to survive, like survival of the fit. It was the
yeah,
society,
yeah,
that
Mhm.
survived the fittest.
yeah.
And it's just like so frustrating with that.
Yeah, because it is so antisocial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, saying that, like, everything is just like you in it for yourself, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says, it doesn't matter how it affects anyone else. That is not a leftist value.
Yeah.
That
I
is very much a right wing value, to be like, it is all in it for me,
Yeah.
and just using whatever justifications that you can, that you want. And they sort of like pull from their idea of what it means to be leftist. Like, well, they say it's everybody in it for themselves. Like, no, we fucking don't. Oh my God, this is about
Yeah, I was
community.
gonna say
This is
they
about, like,
project
taking
that.
care of the
It's
community,
like
right?
they're like, oh well, greed is just in human nature,
It's
right?
fucking not.
So they're like, oh, if a leftist gets in power, they're gonna
Yeah.
take everything and we're gonna be poor. And it's like that's what's happening now. Like, come
Yeah,
on,
well,
like,
it's just like that, Obama death squads, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like projection all the way the fuck down.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
every projection is a confession.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's really funny to me that, like, and I guess this kind of ties into horseshoe theory, propaganda, why the normies see things the way they do. But it's really funny that they see the left as this thing that is like anti-personal responsibility, and that we just love crime. Yet at the same time, if we were to become powerful and the communists were getting to power, we're going to round them all up, throw them in jail, and be
Yeah.
so brutal on
Yeah.
crime
Yeah.
and thought crime,
Yeah.
that they're going to end up being the ones in jail. And it's like, well, you got to recognize that those two ideas are quite antithetical to each other.
but
so.
they won't recognize it. That's the problem.
Because literacy and understanding is like, and so that is one thing that is so maddening, is that, like, the leftist ideals are like, we all have enough,
Mhm.
right? We share, it's egalitarian, we all have enough, right?
Yeah.
Whereas they're projecting their ideas of, like, power order.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, you have power, and that means that you oppress, you crush, and, like, what the fuck? And also, I wish that we would put more of an effort into the propaganda that the right is fiscally conservative, because they're fucking not.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like the leftist policies, the
I mean,
socialist policies.
conservative in the sense of like how they treat privatization and favoring like the wealthy and acting in their interests.
Well, just
Well, I
like
But
the
they don't really
misunderstanding.
conserve money. Like
No.
they have this kind. I really feel like they're like, oh, it's in the name kind of thing, where
Okay.
conservatives conserve things financially.
I will
That's
beat
why
you in the
they're
face,
called that. And I feel like that's how a lot of people literally think. I haven't
I
had
know.
anybody say that in those exact words, but that seems to be the general essence of,
Yeah.
of where
Which
people are at.
makes me feel insane. And so like when you say that like we need to fund healthcare, we need to fund like mental health care, we need to fund so that to give homeless people homes, and then the question from the right, it turns into like, who's paying for this? You're already fucking paying for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is so much more
Prisons
expensive.
are expensive.
Prisons are expensive. Like emergency care is expensive.
Yeah.
Just the cost to set people up in a home, so that they have stability, is so much less expensive across the board. But there's also this idea, idea that people need to be punished for their choices. And so like, how do we get past the idea that people need to be punished for their
That's half
choices?
the pro-life movement. That's
vengeance.
literally half the pro-life movement is punishing women for having sex. Like,
it's a zero idea,
because the whole thing about Christianity,
for children
like
to like grow up in awful environments
and giving
if they
people
get to.
grace and accepting them for their flaws and the choice and perhaps forgiving them despite the poor choices that they might make.
I kind of hope Jesus resurrects. Come slap some silly into them, be like, no, this is not my preachings. Like that would be really cool, Jesus.
Yeah.
Only if he comes back as like a Marvel superhero who's impervious to bullets, because otherwise he's going down like
well, he'll just resurrecting it. He's kind of God.
Well, that's
he
like,
comes in with a bulletproof vest. He's like,
keep,
listen here, maggots.
Yeah, like if he can keep like respawning, then maybe. But like
maybe he'll get a couple words in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have this video of Matthew Remski here, and that's how I wanted to close the show. He is he's a content creator, a lot of commie ideas and stuff. I follow him on TikTok, but this was a video I have to come across on Facebook. Yeah, I think like what he's talking about here in terms of strategy, in terms of how we treat people in a like from the left in a purity testing way. He has a very good nuanced point here that I wanted to show in attachment to everything we just watched from John Pargin.
Donnie or Lewis get Red Scare smeared from the right.
I wonder if I can get the video to start from scratch. Let me see. Because I think that was a couple. Yeah, we know that populists okay. I hate how it does
Left leaders like Mamdani or Lewis get Red Scare smeared from the right. But have you watched them get hit from the left as well and wondered what the hell is going on? This can be confusing and acrimonious. So I want to give a rundown on why this is an old but ultimately healthy conflict. And it's not about preferences or vibes, definitely not about purity testing. I'll give you my position at the end. The conflict is about the nature of the capitalist state and whether socialism can meaningfully change it from within. It's like the question of whether No King's Day protests are radical or whether they merely absorb and disperse revolutionary energy. The most famous articulation of the dilemma comes from Rosa Luxemburg in 1899. Quote, "With the entry of a socialist into the government and class domination continuing to exist, the bourgeois government doesn't transform itself into a socialist government, but a socialist transforms himself into a bourgeois minister." Now, Luxemburg was a victim of this betrayal. In 1918, the German socialists entered a pre-Weimar coalition and then enlisted right-wing militias to murder rebellious anti-war communists, including her. She argued that the bourgeois state is a form of class power downstream of capitalism designed to facilitate it. The minister must function within it, and that means managing capitalism, not ending it. The revolutionary says Bernie Sanders, the DSA, Zoran Mamdani, Zach Polanski, and Avi Lewis are all on a conveyor belt to maybe reforming capitalism if they can, but in ways that may not hold and may just kick the crisis down the road. The history of socialism in Canada is a test case. The revolutionary socialism of the 1933 Regina Manifesto got softened into a democratic socialism that was able to negotiate universal health care and the Charter of Rights and a bunch of other things. But those social goods have been relentlessly attacked by capitalist goons for generations, to the point that large provinces are now selling public health care.
He is so 100% on the money here, by
Yes.
the way, in terms of like how this went down in Canada in particular. Like it was those far left socialists trying to exist in the ecosystem of liberalism, capitalism, that made the major headway of all these social systems that we enjoy and took for granted, and have thus subsequently taken it for granted so much that we're starting to see it as this overly expensive luxury that we don't necessarily need, because we can't remember a time where we didn't have it. And we don't know better at this point, unfortunately.
And that's the thing too, is that like that's
that's
part of the propaganda of the last several decades, is that we can't conceive of things outside of what we're experiencing.
Yeah. Again,
Like,
the
this is
realism of
purposeful.
it, right? It just, this is the way it's been for the decades that I've existed. Of course, that's how it has to be. How would it be any other way? Yeah.
And Carney is stepping all over Indigenous rights so he can build pipelines faster. Oligarchs cannot stop killing people. Luxembourg says you gotta show them the door. Democratic socialism says they can be slowed down and possibly reversed from within. And both approaches can fail, whether through cycles of violence or the paralysis of compromise. And things get bitter when the revolutionaries say that reformers function to funnel revolutionary energy into reforms that reproduce the status quo. And that's where you might hear something like hatred from the revolutionaries, that these are figures of betrayal. But not to me. At this point, I believe these two tendencies are in a dialectic. I need revolutionary comrades and reform comrades.
Exactly. There, as Nat always says, there is no single path towards freedom. There is no single path towards liberation. We need both of these people working in tandem and criticizing each other, but in a constructive and healthy way, ideally.
One group or the other, depending on my strengths, my vulnerabilities, what's possible in the moment, my stage of life, and how
what's possible in the moment. I love that phrasing. Emphasize, like, again, like, kind of taking it to a very fundamental Marx approach when you talk about materialism and material dialectic. What is the place you exist in time with the resources you have right now?
Yeah.
And what can you do with that? Right?
Because it doesn't matter what you ideally want. What is happening right the fuck down?
Yeah.
Well, the clock is ticking on so many crises. And as a parent, I'm mindful that safer strategies can be good training grounds for riskier ones.
Hey,
so we know that
like
populist
that
left
too.
leaders like Mamdani or Lewis get Red Scare smeared from the right. But have you watched them get hit from the left as well?
Yeah, exactly. So that's it, looping around.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot about that. I feel like we as leftists in general, no matter what particular stripe of left you are, we need to be thinking like that. To be more cohesive, and like it kind of brings me back to Michael Brooks and his phrasing. He called himself a cosmopolitan socialist, and cosmopolitan in the terms of being from many different, a conglomerate of all these different parts from all over the world, all these different cultures, all these different perspectives and ways of looking at these things. Our socialism should be that. It should be open and intersectional, and not to get all heady like and scare the normies with my big words, but like intersectional, for those who may not know what I mean when I say that. Intersectional is in intersecting the various types of people that exist in our country or around you, like here in Canada. We are very multicultural. We have a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different places that people are speaking from, and so to be and allow those to intersect so we can consider them and look at them and how they play off of each other and learn from that. we need to be open to these things, be critical, but like, yeah, of those kind of like mainstream leftists that you feel may betray you, but making that your like entire thing and cutting your nose off to spite your face, yeah, we got to stop that, guys. We got to
like
cut it out.
that only does the work for the right, honestly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
we're
like
doing the work for
the from the CIA's handbook, how do you disrupt leftist movements?
Yeah.
Is that you go into their meetings and you get them bogged down in minutia,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah, so if you're not getting paid by the CIA, like,
yeah,
really
then
stop
like
it.
if you're not getting paid, then why are you bogging down?
Yeah,
Like if you have
because
something,
humans like to work. They'll work
Yeah.
for free.
and so like if there's something, and this is something that we need leaders also to like really understand, really take on board, is to have the strength to say like, look, I hear what you're saying, this is not the forum for that, let's take that on a sidebar and actually schedule it because we're taking you seriously.
Yeah.
Or to be like, you're not a fucking serious person. I'm not, because like we honestly,
we need to call a spade a spade. We're so
we
bad at doing
honestly
that these
need to
days.
do that too,
like,
right?
like how soft journalists are on this Trump government or on Carney's government, even.
Yeah.
Like how they just like don't drill these people. They just lick their ass the whole time, and it's
They're
like,
all
what are
on
we
the
watching?
same
This is
side.
crazy. Yeah, exactly.
So like you need to, like, our leaders need to understand that yes, there are many things happening all the fucking time, but you need to, like, if your tactic is always to say like, let's set aside a time for this specifically to everything, then fine, make sure that you set aside the time to address all these things. And if you need to say in private, like, this is stupid, fuck off, then fine, do that, right? But like, sometimes we need to tell people to fuck off, right? Because just because we're leftists doesn't mean that we're all sane, and it doesn't mean, like, I know that's ableist to say that we're not all sane, like not all of us are sane, but at the same time,
sanist.
Okay, I still think, well, actually that'd just be ableist, but I still think they should vote. Like, I don't even care if
no,
you
sure,
Yeah.
but like it's
But, like,
difference between voting and
don't
like allowing someone to like
interrupt the
completely,
meeting.
yeah, right,
Yeah.
right, and because like this is a thing. Like, I've worked in like public works and organization for so fucking long. I know that this is a thing that some folks might be like, look, I need to take up your entire time on this one specific side issue, and we need to say no.
Yeah.
Right? We need to say like,
Prioritize.
we need
Yeah.
to prioritize.
First of all,
and
yeah, like as to boil it down to a simpler point, you know, class war, not culture war, right?
Yeah.
I'm commenting on this. Oh, here, I'll bring this up on the screen.
Yeah, pull
we
it
finally
up.
got somebody comment. The comment
I
section
know,
has
at the
been dead
very
today.
end.
People have been watching live, but nobody's talking today. It's so quiet.
They just agreed with us.
But a while ago, atheist married to a Hispanic Colombian communist. I learned a lot about being respectful of religious beliefs. Oh, going back to the beginning of the show. What we were talking about
and that's like, that's cool. That's good. And that's the thing, is that like, in part of what I was saying, there's not a single path of freedom that includes beliefs, right?
Yeah.
And so like, that's why I consider myself agnostic. I can't prove you're wrong.
You know,
for the most part.
we make fun of the Christians for not being very Jesus-like in a lot of their attitudes, or how it seems to exist in America and Canada and a lot of places where they're so like conservative, individualistic and non-communal that seems to go against a lot of Jesus's teachings. But that said, there are a lot of Christians who are exactly that, who do live up to what Jesus was preaching about, being your brother's keeper and taking care of each other and giving each other grace. And, you know, there are people that do very much, who are Christian, try and live up to that ideal.
And as more people have their needs met and more people have community, organized religion would slowly not have a function anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, believe what you want, because I believe that eventually, like, you know, what, like, you'll have your own beliefs, but what you need the church for and all following all that, it's like, that won't be a function for you.
And like, so my issue with organized religion is the siphoning of money from communities and not giving back, right? And so like mega churches, for example, Catholic Church, for example, right? Just like of hoarding of wealth when you
Mormon
have
churches.
communities.
Scientology. I mean, there's a few.
Scientology. Yeah. Anyway, so like I could keep like looking up lists, but the thing is that like my issue with organized religion is just the use of that to siphon wealth away from communities and to get away with like bullshit under the assumption that these people are above reproach and that their authority cannot be challenged, and that is so dangerous and leads to so many
Yeah.
opportunities for abuse, and I fucking hate that. So
Yeah.
anyway, it's main culture.
Even saying you're an atheist to many cultures basically translates to, I think we die, the lights go out, and you're never going to see Abuela again. Deal with it. Which is icky to many. Yeah.
Which is
like,
why I say
that's
I'm agnostic. I can't
existentially
prove you're wrong.
terrifying.
Yeah.
Of course.
If
That
I
is
think someone's
existentially terrifying.
religious and I'm
Yeah.
soft stepping, I do say I'm agnostic.
Yeah.
You know, if
Yeah.
I'm talking to friends, I'm like, I'm atheist. But like again, my beliefs are your beliefs. I also only believe in ghosts for fun. I don't believe in them for reals. So it's like if you believe in ghosts, that's cool. Good,
Yeah.
like cool.
When it
I
comes
believe
to
in them for
ghosts,
fun.
I'm just like I consider myself agnostic on ghosts.
I read my
because it's
horoscope
like,
too,
there
and
could be
you
a
know, I
scientific
go to church.
explanation, you know.
Yeah.
I go to my friend's
I don't
church
know.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it's fun. Like it's
Like when I
interesting.
consider like all the very mind-bendingly wonderful things we have come to learn about the universe
Mhm.
so far, in as far as my meager mind can understand them, when I consider all of those things and you start talking about whether ghosts are real or not, or whether there's this concept of the afterlife, I don't dare try and
One day I'll find out.
state who am I to say that. But
Yeah.
my main thing is when it comes to like from a philosophical point of view, I think as long as people are thinking and they remain curious and they
Mhm.
remain kind of open in that capacity, and
Mhm.
we're always trying to like look forward to the next thing and
Mhm.
do what's best,
And not pushing their religion. A lot
it's
of
all good, baby.
religions keep what like part of their religion is conversion.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
like whenever that is, I'm like, no, like stop trying to convert people. Let them come to you. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like
Like
Yeah,
yeah,
and
like
also
that's pretty chill. Like you don't see a lot of people doing that anymore.
Yeah.
It's not a popular thing to try and like go out and recruit at least where we are.
I saw
maybe in
Jehovah's
parts,
Witnesses
maybe
today.
in parts of
so-
America, there's that's a different
Yeah,
story. Yeah.
but like I also think that I want people to believe what they do, but to have a healthy sense of self to be able to mistrust authority,
Yeah.
to make sure that it doesn't hurt them, right?
Mhm.
Because like I don't mean mistrust in authority to be like you should never get vaccines, don't wipe your ass,
Or,
fluoridated water is awful. I mean
and not
just
hurt them as in being called dumb because they might be having a dumb opinion. Like that's not the hurt
like
that we're talking about.
sometimes you need to, like it's not even about taking you down a peg. It's like sometimes you need someone to be not like the truthful person who just only says shitty things and say that they're speaking the truth.
Yeah,
Like
the
I
truth is only
sometimes
the truth unless it's harsh and hard.
yeah, like
Yeah.
those people suck. Who
Yeah.
only speak the truth.
I'm
in
just
the form of-
honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like no,
It's
you're
just
just
a
an asshole.
realist, man.
I'm
Yeah.
just blunt.
Yeah, you just suck and you don't say anything nice about people. So like people generally they don't want to feel stupid. So if you have a connection with someone like their family, friends, or something, you can take them aside and like have a conversation with them. I don't think you should try to like purposely try to make them feel stupid, unless they're a flat earther. But
There's a line. There's a line.
I even flat Earth. I still want to talk to you. Like I want to know how your brain works. I got questions.
Yeah, so like it's so complicated because like
morbid curiosity is still curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you know,
right?
I go with the question method. If they're acting a little insane, just ask questions, and I just want to know.
Yeah.
What's going
Yeah,
on.
it's
And
just
that's
like,
the thing is
okay,
that like
yeah.
sometimes people just need someone to hear them talk, right?
Yeah.
And that's
maybe they've never expressed these ideas out loud. Maybe they've been in their own head about it, and they don't realize maybe how stupid it is until they say it out loud to another person.
Or
and you might just happen to be that unlucky person.
Their conspiracy group is their only like source of community.
That's possible.
Yeah.
And so like, and also at the same time, it ran away.
What ran
God
away?
Damn it! My point.
Yeah, sorry.
Just ran
away. We're getting excited.
I was like,
getting excited.
What physical thing ran away from you just now?
My thought. Oh, it was a good thought too.
Well, we are above the hour as we normally like to get on this supposedly 1 hour show.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good time to.
Oh, okay. I found it.
What?
Okay.
Get it out now.
Yes, I will. So one thing that people like to say is that like, oh, they're just looking for attention. Sometimes people need to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And so like
again, we're communal creatures. Attention is something we kind of require.
Yes. And so like and I'm not saying that you need to do this for internet trolls, right?
No.
You've never met them. You have no responsibilities.
You don't even know if they're real.
It is true that
you don't even
internet
know if
troll, them arguing with you and calling you the meanest names they could think of for hours on end, that might be the extent of their social contact that in a weird way they do kind of need.
Yeah. But at the same time,
but you don't need to be the one providing it to them.
Yeah.
You don't need to put yourself through
like
that.
I'm talking about like on the internet, like not saying that like every person that you come across on like Facebook Marketplace you need to get into the deep stuff with. I'm saying that like if you have the opportunity in your life and like someone is trying to express things to you, that it can be a lot more valuable to at least hear them, because what a lot of people need is to be heard, right?
Yeah.
And so that's going back to what's his face, the first guy. Is that a lot of people need to be heard, right? And I think we often, from our internet presences, from our Facebook presences, sometimes we might seem like we're not approachable to do stuff. And so I think that that is something that we can work on just with specifically.
As wild as any of us can come off on social media, like as you hear and speak to us now, I feel like we're pretty normal, right?
Specifically in person.
I think so.
I don't mean online.
I am charming, let me tell you.
As long as like once they talk to me,
a resounding agreement from the both of you.
I didn't. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm saying I'm
validated.
Okay, sorry. I was in my own head. Okay,
you're supposed to be like, yes, that is correct.
You are.
I was just listening. I was hearing you. I didn't realize you also needed validation.
Yeah,
like
that was me asking for validation.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Sometimes we need to ask for things that we need.
Yeah.
So yes, we're validating.
You are very charming, Jimmy.
You are absolutely, and you are compassionate, and you do listen to people. Absolutely. And you try
that honestly, I couldn't have scripted that any better.
Yeah.
That was my act of feminism for today.
Yeah. That's good. A little bit of misandry to flesh out your
misandry never hurt anyone.
I'm not saying that in
derogatory. Misandry.
All the positive ways that misandry exists. Oh man. Yeah. Thank you. So that is a great note to leave on. As always, Jessica and Nat for being wonderful co-hosts. This has been next week. If you come in the middle of the episode, well, you can just go right back to the beginning of it.